Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Mike Brightman, company's Brightman Designs, and I design homes in Denver, Colorado using SketchUp Pro layout, Lumion, and our ConDoc Tools extension. So these live streams are me working on real projects that I have on the boards, and today we're going to start off on another project. Last week we did all right. We worked on a basement bathroom remodel. So this one we'll dive into something that's more of like an architectural renovation versus like an interior design project. So I figure the first thing that we can do is take a lap through kind of the drawings where I have them right now and just take it easy, work through it. We'll check out the drawings and then we're going to start from scratch and we're going to build this project all the way from the first blank SketchUp model through the very end with the design. So probably, just remind ourselves that we've got our full setup here with our screens. That's kind of the idea behind these, is that you can like literally look over my shoulder while I'm working. I've got my chat panel up here, so if you're popping in, say hi. And if you have questions about anything I'm doing, really anything at all, just throw it in the chat panel. And I'm just going to kind of remind myself just to kind of go slower, or not slow, but I don't have to go fast. So this is just working in a direction. I know where I'm going with the design, but I don't have to scramble and get things done so fast. All right. So, hey, from Saudi Arabia, right on. Glad to have you here, Frez. So, well, let's do it. Let's see. I'm going to hop over to my screen here, and we can see here that we've got like the very first thing I would comment on is just our existing conditions drawings. We've got like, let's see. Oh, we do have our existing conditions drawings. And then as I kind of click through here, we have our concept E, concept F. So you can see that, I've worked through some drafting in layout. And this will be a different day, but this is really a slick technique to have, all this 2D drafting and layout. We'll get there. And then, hey, we've got Gamo from El Salvador. Glad to have you here too, reaching all over the place. All right, and then here's our permit set. We've got like, the cover page. We've got our demolition plan right here, and kind of what we're doing to this bathroom. And then here's what we're going to build out on top of that. So that's our construction plan. And then we've got a bit of a roof plan, which pretty simple, straightforward. And then let's see, we've got our couple of our elevations. And then I had to throw in some sections, kind of, last minute and a bit. And then we've got like a bit of a details page. And I I threw these in there. And then the details page, this is kind of a duplicate file that I made, so I didn't trash these just yet. So I could even do that right now. Get rid of those. All right, so that's the drawings, and then here's our proposed conditions model. And so you get the idea of where we're going with this. It's a master bedroom that's going to kind of build on top of there. And if I open up my ConDoc Tools and perhaps I go to our interior, you can see like I'll freeze our ceilings as well. And so this is like what we're up to, is kind of the existing hallway here, and then it goes into the bedroom, and then you can see that we're like building out and making the bathroom and the master bedroom much bigger. John Brock, getting my geek on. And Steven from Norway. Man, John Brock, you're in Virginia? All right. So let's see. We've got our existing conditions, and yeah, so that's the idea here. So that's kind of, where we're going with this project. And so I'd say let's start a new SketchUp model. And actually, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Canvas 3D scan. And so we'll start there. and we'll use our ConDoc Tools to just kind of button up that file. But I'll tell you what we're not going to do today, since we did it last time, is like work through all of our existing conditions models. I wanted to cover something a little bit different today. So we're going to work with our prepping like the site model, getting all the terrain in there, and working through that. But we will start with our existing conditions canvas scan. So let's do that. I'm going to go to SketchUp, and we'll click File, Open, and then here's our second episode. And I've got to go over here to our demo files, and then I did take the zip file and right click and extract it, and we'll extract all. So this is literally what was sent to me from Canvas. And then you can see that they give you all the different scans, and you've got like your original mesh and reprocessed mesh. I don't really care so much about that as I do this global 4580 file. So in SketchUp, I'm gonna go to File, Open, and then we have our demo files, scan to CAD, and then here's our merged file. So I'm gonna open that, and I'm not gonna save those changes. This is where the project starts for me every single time. Like I always say, I use the Canvas scanner. It's an app on the iPad. You push a button, you wave your iPad around, upload it, and for I forget how much this one cost. I think it was a couple hundred, it might have been like $600. And I only scanned the top floor, and this is what you end up with. This is just a really impressive place to start. And I can tell you that, just like I've done before, I went back and I verified that, our ceiling heights, I was kind of, after the fact, I was like, man, are they really 7'6"? That seems really low. And I went back and that was the case. So one of these days I'll start blindly trusting Canvas. For now, I still just go double check it. It hasn't let me down yet. All right. So then with Canvas, their template, under animation, those scene transitions kind of drive me nuts, so I disable those. And I'm going to stick with the Architect Plus drawing set. We talked about that a bit the last time. I'll just hit reset, and when I do that, that adds my design scene. It adds in all of my different ConDoc tags. So we have our ConDoc Tools tag folder. I get all of my styles loaded in here that I'm going to need. So kind of one click eliminates the need for a template is the idea there. All right, so this is the existing conditions model, and I suppose for now I'm just going to take all this stuff and I'm going to group it, and then I'm just going to tag it always off. And then I'm going to go to my design scene, and I'm going to let's turn off our always off tag so that it is truly off, and then we're going to update our design scene. And so this way, every time I hit reset, it's going to get rid of anything that's on the always off tag. So it's just the always off tag is a good way to just kind of get something out of your way, and just you're not ready to delete it, but you just don't want to see it. So that could be like an option, like kind of a little sketch that you're working on, and maybe you're not committed to it, or you scoot it off to the side, but you don't want it to show on any of your drawings, and you're not ready to delete it. So just throw it on always off, and it will be always off and turned off in all your drawings. All right. So whenever I hit reset, we're good to go. All right. So I'm going to go to File, and let's see. Let me say this. All right. So any project that I'm working on, especially an exterior project, so really any architectural design project that I'm working on, any renovation I'm working on, I like to geolocate it. When you add a location to your model, you're going to get accurate shadows. You're going to get accurate terrain and aerial imagery. So we're going to use the add location feature, set this thing up, and then see where it goes from there. All right, so File, and choose Add Location. And we're going to go to, let me double check my address here. We're going to go to 45. Wagon. Let's see if this comes up. Sometimes there's a road, and that's going to be in Bomar. Yeah. This is let me get the exact address here, of course. Projects. All right, so let's try this. There we go. All right, so now this new, I don't know how you guys feel about this new add location dialog. I wasn't like terribly dissatisfied with the old one, but I guess it's okay. You have the option to like show your model, but I don't really need that, you know? So let's see. We're going to continue now. So we'll continue, and this is where I can select like the amount of terrain I'm bringing in. So, you know, for a project like this, I can see that like my property line, you know, is kind of like that. I would get plenty of context. This is, you know, for the most part, I guess you could call it free. Let's bring in our 3D mesh and the density. Let's go with high. I've got a pretty high-powered computer, so I want as much detail as they're going to give me, and we'll just do that. So we'll import our site context, and let's see. Okay, we're going to close that. All right, so now we've got our aerial imagery in there, and then we can like right-click on any toolbar. At least in Windows you can do this. And then are we calling this the location? Oh, yeah. Placemaker. I forget what they're calling this now. I think they changed the name. It used to be, I believe it used to be called the location tool. And I don't see that. But is it add location? No. So it's not that. But either way, really all, you know, I was just going to show you the button that switches between our like 2D plane and our 3D terrain. All right. So like right away, I might start to make a decision about like what, Nicholas, glad you're here, man. I might start making decisions about like, what do I actually want to keep? Let's hang tight on that. So you can see that, you know, we pulled in our 3D import from, you know, from SketchUp's imagery, and that's going to be good for our context. But now what I want to do is kind of get like our model lined up with this, and then we're going to start working with our site survey. John Brock, you're going to be happy with what I'm about to do. A little bit of PDF importer, of course. All right, so let's just stick with our 2D plane and turn off our 3D terrain. And then let's turn on our always off tag. And so now you can see, like, you know, we got to get this guy kind of lined up. So I'm going to scoot this over here, and I guess I'm just going to like kind of eyeball, like rotate this by, let me get this out of the way. And I'm going to draw a guide along this roof line. So I'll use my protractor tool and go like that. Let me start again. I'm going to go like this. We're on the red axis. I just want to know like how far off the red axis am I? I might just pick something that's kind of, you know, it's 10.7. Let's just call it like 10 and just see if that gets us kind of close, or 11. Like 11 looks pretty good. I'm just going to pick a number that's kind of palatable versus like a 10.7. All right, like that. And then I'm going to rotate this by 11 degrees. and then I'm going to scoot it over here and place it like that. All right. Now, I can tell you that like right now, early in the project, it's okay to be scooting this thing around a little bit. We're not locked in yet, but we will want to get to a place where once we've like, or rotated this thing into place and everything, where you're not going to want to mess with it. But for now, I think we're going to keep it a little bit loose, just in case like our aerial imagery, when we upgrade it, it starts looking a little bit better. So, all right, and this is where I kind of forget with Placemaker. Like I want to upgrade my aerial imagery, but I don't want to like pay for it twice. And I kind of think that maybe what I'm going to do, let's go for it. I'm just going to unlock that for the time being. I'm going to right click and go to Placemaker. All right. And then let me say this. So Placemaker is a super powerful plugin that allows you to upgrade your aerial imagery, drastically improve the quality of that aerial imagery. And then you can also bring in your, upgraded terrain and all that. So let's take a lap through Placemaker and see, what we can get out of this thing. So you just click on this button here, and that's going to open the Placemaker dialog. And then I believe I need to select this, and I'm going to go to our imagery, and I think near map is usually the best. But I forget, like you could probably experiment with all these, but I believe near map is the best. And I'll click import imagery like that. And you made to explode, or okay. So what do we say? We need to select a surface or single group containing a surface. So let's double click in, and you can see that there's a group within a group, and then double click in again, and there's another group. Okay, so there's a bunch. So let's just import imagery on that. Let's see what that does. All right, so this is going to take 10 credits, no problem. I forget, credits were, I can't remember how much they were, but I can tell you that like if you wait till Black Friday, they always run a pretty nice sale. So let's bring this in and see what happens here. And are we still, yep, we're still cranking, I think. And all right, well, this is how live streams go. That's all right. We'll see. As long as the stream doesn't crash, I'm willing to work with products and getting those figured out. So let me it looks like it started to bring something in and then kind of choked. So let's delete that, and maybe I'll try this. Let's import the terrain first and just get something to go. So 1 credit, that's fine. Let's import the terrain and see what that brings in. All right, so that brought in our terrain. I kind of have a feeling that with Placemaker, and I probably should have done it like this, where I have a feeling that Placemaker likes it when you use their location tool. It works off of SketchUp's location, but I know that they have their own tool, so maybe that would have been a better place to start. But hey, let's see how this goes. So this here, if I look at my entity info, this is on a tag called PM-terrain. So now we have all these like Placemaker tags coming in. All right, so like, the SketchUp terrain is, this is like our SketchUp aerial imagery, and then this is our Placemaker terrain. So I guess let's turn off our 2D terrain and just work with our Placemaker imagery now. All right, so that looks okay. Let's select that, and then we'll go over to our aerial imagery under near map. I'm going to hit import imagery. And then, okay, so this wants 30 credits. Let's confirm. And then hands off. Yeah, I have a feeling that it's better to kind of work with Placemaker's terrain or aerial imagery. So now look at the difference between that. So like this is kind of the first. I'm just going to hide that and then turn off our view hidden objects. So like you can see how much better that is. You know, I can really see now like how to place this house like that. And so now, you know, I can select this whole thing, and it does look like it's perhaps just a little bit off. So maybe I would just kind of scoot it like another like one degree. All right, so I'm just gonna like exaggerate it and then type 1, enter. All right, so now I believe I think I'm like 12 degrees off from the original origin. All right, and then I'm gonna scoot this. Let's see. I'm just gonna scoot it over a little bit. And you know, this is not like a super exact science here. I'm just kind of getting it into place. And let's see. We can go back a little bit like that, because I know there's an overhang here. And so that looks pretty good. You know, maybe just a little further this way and a little further back like that. So a little bit of roof over here. I think that's about right. Yeah, I had it good. Okay. So again, you know, like right now, we don't have to be absolutely exact because, well, we're pretty darn close because we have this high-res imagery. But now what we're going to start to do is, you know, get the existing conditions model close on the site, and then we're going to start working with the actual site survey. And then the survey is going to have the building footprint, and inevitably the building footprint on the survey is not going to match our existing conditions model. So you just make these like little decisions along the way to get it as close as possible. And then you're going to want to lock it in and then not mess with it. All right. So far so good. And, you know, I probably, you know, moved this thing up and down a bit, but that doesn't matter. We're just really worried about where it sits on there. And you know what? Yeah, Keenan, you're right. We could go to camera, standard views top, you know, camera, parallel projection. And then we could even go to like view, face style X-ray. And that would kind of help a bit. Yeah, you're right. We could have done that, and that would have helped kind of shore it up a little bit. And, you know, from this viewpoint, I would almost say it just needs to move like to the right, you know, like maybe like that, just a tiny little bit. And all I'm doing here is I'm just looking at, like, I know from working on this project that the roof condition on this side is exactly the same, very similar to the roof condition on this side. So I would want to, you know, center it up there, and yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so, you know, this is kind of nice with the ConDoc system. You can always just hit reset. And then, you know, let's see like what our tags are all about now. All right, so we want to kind of continue, like at some point you kind of make the decision, like, I guess I'd probably trash the SketchUp stuff, like our 2D import, 2D plane, and our 3D import. And like, what is this? This is our Placemaker imagery, and then we have our Placemaker terrain. So like the Placemaker imagery, I'm going to put that on always off. So remember, always off can be used to just like hold on to something that you're not ready to delete. And then I guess I'm going to unhide all. I'm kind of curious, where's our SketchUp imagery? This would be our 2D plane, 2D import 1. I gotta tell you, I don't love the way that this new import works, this add location. I kind of liked it when the add location just had a very predictable tag that it put things on, and it would appear that now we're doing like 2D import 1, which would, I'm assuming imply that there's, if you have a big area, it'd be, or if you do it again and again, it's 2 and 3 and 4. I don't know. I really just want all my terrain on a terrain tag and all my aerial imagery on an aerial imagery tag. And more than likely, I'm just going to trash it anyway. So like this SketchUp stuff at this point, I think I'm going to delete that because I'm going to hold on to my Placemaker terrain, and then I'm going to unhide all. And I just want to find, like, we have Placemaker imagery, we have Placemaker terrain, and then we have like our 3D import. So where's our 3D import? Did I like, I don't think it's there. So let's delete our, oh boy. I wish I could just delete these without exploding the tag folder. And then we're going to our 3D import. Let's just delete those tags. And then can I just delete? I have to explode the tag folder and explode the tag folder. And then let's get rid of, okay, so there's nothing in there. So now we're good. All right, so hit reset. And let's see. So now, ConDoc Tools, we're going to update this and reset. All right, so now we've got our Placemaker terrain. All right, that took a little bit of doing, huh? So we've got our high resolution aerial imagery applied to our terrain. All right, so that's something. And I've got things cleaned up to a point where I really only have my Placemaker imagery and terrain, but when I hit reset, I'm only seeing my terrain, which is exactly how I want this to be. All right, so I think this is a good point to save, that's for sure. You know, we're working with our Canvas existing conditions model, so let's just go to File and choose Save. I'm going to do Save As. That would have been good to do right off the bat, but you know, no big deal. We'll just work here. We're going to call this one like BD underscore, you know, wagon trail road space dash space. And we'll say this is going to be our existing conditions like that. All right. We're good there. And I think that we're good on Placemaker for now, like that. All right. So at this point, we can then start talking about what we're going to do with our site survey. All right, so when we're getting all this worked up, you know, we've got our high resolution aerial imagery applied to our terrain, which is, you know, good terrain from Placemaker, but it's not like the absolute accurate representation of the site. So when you have a site survey, you want to bring that data in as well and, you know, build out that actual, like, you know, 3D topography. And then you want to like integrate it with what we have here. All right. So that's what we're going to do next is take a look over on this screen. I should have our improvement survey. And, you know, you can see that we've got like all these spot grade elevations and all that. All right. So to get this improvement survey into SketchUp, I'm going to go to File and choose Import. Now, on my machine, you can see that one of the file types that I'm able to import, let's see, where is that? It would be a PDF. So we can bring in a PDF vector graphic. That's one of John Brock's plugins. It pulls in the any PDF with vector line work, and it brings it in and as SketchUp line work, which is extremely valuable, especially, you know, for something like this or for working with other plans. All right, so we're going to bring in a PDF, and we're going to go to our demo files, and then here's our improvement survey. Options, that's interesting. Yeah, black lines, color lines, sounds good. Okay, import that. Now we're going to crop this and I'm going to limit it just kind of to where our line work is. And then you can see if I zoom a bit and scoot over here, you can see that our scale is at 1 inch equals 20 feet. So I'm going to set the scale down here to 1 inch equals 20 feet. And I've got everything. Let's zoom, fit the width. We're good. All right. So we're going to bring in this chunk of the site survey at 1 inch equals 20 feet. We'll import and see what we get. Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to move that up like this. And then I'm just going to, jump in there and hide rest of model so that we can kind of look at what we got. So there's our wagon trail road out front. And it looks like, let me see, let me go back to our parallel camera parallel projection. And yeah, I need to rotate this thing by like 180 degrees to start, like that, I believe. No, I'm wrong. Here's our driveway. So, we're just gonna kind of like scoot this thing around like that, and then you can see like our existing house right there. So maybe that would be the place to start, is to go back to our always off tag and move the survey and kind of get it in line with the house. So I'm just gonna move it just kind of randomly down there like that, and then I'm gonna rotate it, tap the up arrow key, and we're gonna go from this point and we're gonna hover on this edge to set that as our reference, and then snap it to that edge, and then go back to our plan view. And I'm just kind of sorting it out, just looking, like let's see if I scoot it this way like that. You can see that like our porch is kind of a good reference line too. You can kind of get that lined up. That looks pretty good. I mean, that all looks about right. And what I'm looking for here is that, it's okay that it's not perfect, because we'll get there. Like this canvas scan, we'll eventually get that dialed in, with like the exterior dimensions and all that. But I just want it to kind of have the same amount of padding all the way around. Yeah. And yeah, no problem, John. Always awesome plugin, PDF importer. And Perez asking about watching the 3D Summit. I do have those videos almost done. And so the plan is for the 3D Summit recordings, I think a few of us are doing the same presentations at Basecamp. So I was going to hang tight on some of those. But we'll start, probably in the next month or two. There's a few that I was going to get out the door. And so just subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already, and you'll be seeing those 3D Summit videos coming through real soon. And we've got the website built for the next one. It's getting there. Actually, let me check on that. 3D Summit. Let's see. Brightman Designs. And if you scroll down on this, you can check out some pretty awesome photographs of this whole event. Like, it was a blast. So anyways, I posted all the photos just to kind of have a placeholder so you can see what it was all about, but we'll get there. So just got to get those videos out. All right. So it looks like we're in pretty decent shape with our site survey imported, scaled, lined up with our existing conditions model from Canvas, which is also aligned with our aerial imagery and our terrain. So I think that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy there. I'm going to hit reset once more, and let me say this. When you're working in this way and you're getting all this stuff arranged and tweaked, you can, it's easy to get off axis, right? Because now like our imagery and the house in general is not aligned with the green axis. So this would be a good opportunity to get our axes set up and properly aligned. It's just a good idea to get that done right at the very beginning, because if you start drawing lines and working and you kind of tweak off axis, you can cause yourselves a ton of problems. So let's go to our design scene, and let me just remind myself, I think we save, all right, so we're not saving our axes location on the design scene. So let me turn my always off on, and let's position, I'm going to right click on an axis and just verify that the reset is grayed out. That lets me know that I'm seeing the origin. And I'm going to hide this stuff for now, and I'm going to move our level 1 finished floor to kind of be, I'm just going to select this, and we're going to move this straight down on the blue, and we're going to snap it to the origin. All right, so that way, this will change eventually, but I just like to kind of keep it at the origin. And then I'm going to reposition my axes. We call this the sketching context. So we have our axes tool over here. I'm going to activate that. And it doesn't really matter. I suppose I'll just kind of place it right here at the front door. So I'll click once to set it there, and then red, let me get a better view of this, and then red, I want it to be that way. The reason this isn't like terribly important, but it can just cause confusion. Like green is always north, which would always be like up on your screen. So if I were to set my axes this way, that wouldn't be the orientation that I'm kind of familiar with. So I'm going to set my axes this way so that green is kind of going up on my screen right now, and then click again. And let's go test that. So, you know, if I go to camera and go to standard views top, you can see that green is always going to point to the top. And then, what is it? Solar north, which I think is baked in now. So view true north, we're calling it. I've always used this plugin called Solar North, but now we have true north baked in. So you can see that like true north is kind of in line with the green axis, or at least close. So that's going to keep things kind of more familiar. All right, so I've kind of messed around my axes, right? So now I'm going to turn that off, and then I just need to go to my scenes dialog, and my design scene, I want it to hold on to the axes location. And when I check that on, that should grab what I had. So now if I were to right click and hit reset, that's the origin. So every SketchUp model has like the absolute 000 and north and all this, and that's the origin. But now if I hit reset, and let's kind of get this stuff on, and let's update and hit reset. Okay, so now you can see that like our green axis and our sketching context, like, you know, I want to be drawing in line with that house. So now you can see that we're set up there. And every time I hit reset, we're always going to get back there. So that's cool. All right. I do need James here to answer my phone. You're right. But you know what? I could tell that was like another spam call. So I don't get that many phone calls here. Just John Brock. That's the only calls that come through here. All right. So I think we're looking all right. Let me orbit around, and all right, this is where we're going to save. And I guess I'm going to like scoot this up so it's kind of floating up above, and I'm going to tag our terrain as always off, and that's going to be a bit of a temporary solution. And you know, because like right now I really just want to work with the survey. I'm going to turn my axes off, and I'm going to go to my styles, and I'm going to update that design style because I don't really want to be seeing my axes right this second, you know, like while I'm working on my my terrain here. And if I hit reset, that's right. Yeah, we're good. Okay. This is where things are about to get real serious here. This is like not my, I wouldn't call this my area of expertise, because this is like something that I have to do maybe like twice a year. It's like you do this at the beginning of a project, and it's also like kind of different for me because like we're being very accurate. I need to be very accurate when I'm modeling this. So oftentimes when I would do renderings, it doesn't really matter. You kind of pull in the site survey, you make it look right, you get it close. But for this project, there's a rule in, you know, for the zoning and all that we're gonna like kind of run a line. I forget, it was like 20 or 25 feet off that front setback, and we need to plot a point along there. And when we plot that point, it needs to be accurate. And so I really need this site survey to be dialed in. And then once we dial it in and get it modeled properly, then I'm going to get it aligned with like the finished floor of the house. So this part might get a little bit tedious because we're going to go through and like plot each elevation that's on here. And then I'm going to show you something that I came across, a mistake that I made, and how I got around it. All right, because there's like a way of doing this using a different, it's one of Frito's plugins. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head because I never use it. But like what I always do is I just go in and I draw the lines. All right. So let me reset. So yeah, what we're going to do is go in and draw all of our lines in. And let's go to Window, Model Info, Units. Again, we started with a canvas scan. So we're given the model that has these settings in it. And I mean, you could almost make the argument that I should just start with my own template and import this in. But for now, I'm going to go with like, I think I'll go with decimal, and we're going to set it to feet, because that's what we're seeing here. You know, when I look at like my survey, Justin Geis running late. Yeah, we're getting into topo shaper here. It's gonna get interesting. This is not my area of expertise. So you can see like our elevations, our spot grade elevations are set up 54, 72.3, and then everything else just kind of, you know, calling out that 70, you know, leaving out the 54. So what I'm going to do is set my units to be decimal feet, which matches this so that I can just type in 74.2. And display resolution and all that, I don't know if it really matters for what we're doing right this second, but I just have a habit now of always dialing that way up. And I don't like length snapping. I'd prefer to type it in. And so that's how I kind of want this to look for now. All right. Then I'm going to zoom way in here, and I'm looking for the corner. Okay, so we'll say we're going to call this 74.1. So you can see, like, as I zoom in, there's my corner. I'll tap the up arrow key, and then I'm going to type 74.1, enter, like that. All right, so now there's a line that exists that's at, you know, 74.1, and what we're going to need is that endpoint up there. All right, so like I said, this is going to get a little tedious. I'm just going to work through here, and we're going to do 73.8 like that. And I'm just going to go through and plot all these different points. And I think I'll even do these guys here. I think it's this one, like that. 72.3. 72.3. And then we'll just keep going. And I mean, I am, pretty spot on accurate. I don't know that you really need to be like always grabbing right on the X, but there are some of these spot elevations that don't have an X, like over here at the bottom of this wall. So, I mean, as long as you're like really close, I think that it's good. But as I go through here, I'll just kind of work with each one. 68.3 and 70.3 and like this 67.2 and 69.2. And then I can assume that this is like, the corner of the driveway, and like this. And 67.9. And Justin, what's the plugin I'm supposed to be using? The Frito, the one that like lets you draw guides and all that. And I'm sure that Justin has a tutorial on this as well. That's probably a little smoother than what I'm about to do. But I'm going to show you how I kind of goofed up and then how I fixed it. And that I think is kind of interesting. So I'll assume that this goes like that. Yeah, Frito tool that draws guides. I was watching, there's another gentleman who made a video on this that I came across, and he did a good job kind of explaining it. I never use it, so sorry to put you on the spot, man. I don't know it either. Just Topo Shaper. That's all we want. 69.4. I just know that you know every frickin' extension out there, and you've been working on your 30 extensions in 30 days. Let's see, 72 and 73.1 and 74.9. All right. Frito guides. It sounds like it would be that, but it was kind of something. It was something different. I could, I know where it is. It's in the, let me see, Topo Shaper. I know you guys can't see this right this second. Yeah, look. See, Justin's got something on this. This is the one that I was watching the other day.
Started in data analytics.
And in the draw along. He uses draw along, and it like allows you to just kind of draw guides like I don't know. He suggested using that, and this is a great tutorial. I'll share that in the. Actually, I'll just throw it in the chat panel, like this. But don't go watch it right now. Let's see. So then we'll go 75.3. And 75.2 and 76.4. Yeah, part of the idea for these tutorials or these live streams is to not have like any prep for me, and to not like have done this before and then open a clever file to make it move faster. Although that might make for a better presentation, I just want to make it exactly how I get things done. So stick with me as I work through all this. I'm just assuming that we plotted those points at the fence. 71.8. And like, yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at there. I'm just going to draw a line here. 75.9, like that. 80.9. Oh, that's in ConDoc Tools. Okay. Yeah, I should probably dig in on those, and I'm sure there'd be some things I'm doing that could be done much quicker. But 76.8. All right, 77.4, and I'm just tapping that up arrow key to lock on the blue. We'll call this 77.5. $79. All right. And 86.4. 85.8. 83.8. 83.6. 83.8. 82.6, 83.2, and I assume that's for the corner of our planter here. 81.6, 81.5. This guy's at 80.6 and 80.9. And I think maybe we're calling that tree 81. I'm going to save it because I don't want to do this again. Let's see, 77.5 and yeah, you know, actually this does kind of, oh, let's take a quick look at it. I just want to show you the site because kind of it could be kind of interesting to see you know, what this actually looks like. I did fly the drone around. Oh, and yeah, there was a trailer too. So if you saw that, you probably saw a bit of this. So yeah, this is it. And yeah, so you can see like we're up on the hill here, and yeah, not the best shot, but you can see it like drastically slopes down towards the house. So 83, 80, 77. So all right, let's get this done. 77.6 and 77.2. 80.4. That should be size of high side of, that should be high side of wall. Yeah. Yeah, so what are they saying with, I probably shouldn't plot these points then, because because if they're pulling the high side of the wall, I wish I had a better shot of that wall. So I'm guessing I shouldn't plot those points. What do you think, Justin? Should I keep going with these guys or just like use these points out here? I'll work around this side first. The low number is the earth on the bottom of the wall. The high number is the earth at the top of the wall. All right, I'll just plot them. That works. I mean, it does go pretty steep, so. And truth is that, like, no, you still should because there's a grade jump there. Yeah. And this is, I remember, like, from when I did this, it did get kind of muddy. Like, this area of the site was, you know, kind of jumpy, but we're not working on it. If I was doing renderings, I'd dump a bunch of bushes on there. And I'm not going to model this wall either. Like, I just want, like, an accurate general representation of what they gave me in the survey. So, we'll keep rocking here. So 81, 83.3, 80.4. All right. This will be when I look at the analytics. When did people drop off? It'll be right before I started doing this. But hey, that's the point. I don't want to have to come up with all these files before I do this. All right, so 77.2. And we learned something. $79.8. Like that. All right, we'll call this 88. 91.3. And we got that one. And 83.9. Like that. And 82.3. Like that. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick lap now. Just looking for, guaranteed I missed at least one. $77.2. That'll come in handy. Like that. And 76.8. Like that. 76.7, like that. 76.3, like that. Oh yeah, we got a couple more. Glazed over on that. 77.4. 77.4, 76.5, and Justin, yes, those guide points, right? So that was like that gentleman's. That was why he was using the Frito tools or whatever, because it draws those guide points. And I suppose, you know, I could draw like using my tape measure tool and tap control and type 76.2, and then you get you get your guide straight up 76.2. All right, like that. But I was going through and I was going to show like the mistake that I made. So yeah, that's a good point. Like the ideal way to do this is to draw with the tape with the tape measure tool, tap Control, Option on the Mac to add those guide points. But I was going to show you what the mistake I made and how I fixed it. So 76.7 and 76.3 and 75.8, 74.2. Get a few more of these in, and we should be in good shape. 74.2 and 74.1. Yes, so 73.4. Yeah, there's a Frito tool that apparently makes it just a little easier than the tape measure tool, but I don't know. I would probably just go with the tape measure tool the next time I do this, like that. Although, I will say that, you know, the mistake I made here is that I drew lines like this. And I can tell you that one time recently I did go back and I like connected the dots. Like I said, I don't do this a ton, so I like went and just kind of did that. Because Topo Shaper, I remembered it being only works with like a mesh, or if you have, you know, triangulate and all that. But anyway, so all right, let's just give one last pass through here, make sure I got everything, and then we'll get into how I kind of save myself a little bit of trouble here. I think this one I goofed up, so we're gonna call that 63.6 and looks like 72.1. All right, two more right here, and 76.2, 76.6. Just doing a quick scan, see if I missed anything. I think that that's going to be pretty good. Okay. So, all right. So as I was working through this on, when I was actually doing this project, I just kind of started here because I was like, you know, I just got going, and I was being probably like a lot of us where I wasn't watching the tutorials. But anyways, then, you know, I got through it, and then I realized like, oh, I need guide points to make Topo Shaper do what I want it to do. So this got me going down another rabbit hole with Chat GPT. And so what I did is I said, you know, write me a plugin, a SketchUp plugin that adds endpoints to edges, make it simple so I can paste in the Ruby console like that. And came up with something for me, and on the first rip it worked. Now we'll see how this goes. I'm just gonna copy this code. I'm gonna select like this, and I probably could have been more let's see, what did I do here? Let me delete that one. All right, so we're gonna select all this, and then we're gonna go to Extensions, Developer, Ruby Console, and we're going to shrink that down and then paste like that. So not too shabby, right? Pretty crazy that you know, then I could group and hide those, and then I could like group those, and then perhaps I would invert my selection down there and delete them. But like, you know, oh yes I did. Look. Yeah, man. It got me going down a rabbit hole, and screwing around with, I burnt 2 days writing some plugins, which this is like purge unused section planes and isolate active section planes. So really two really cool new tools that I was able to write using ChatGPT. We're going to bake those into ConDoc and make those free as well. Those two tools. But we don't really have anything to demo those on right now, but we'll get there eventually. But how slick is that? I just remembered, actually it was probably John that told me that, oh yeah, I was writing extensions using ChatGPT, but it's nuts that it can do that and then throw it in there, and you can even, get it to a place where it'll build a button for you. Like I worked with it quite a bit. All right. So that was kind of fun, right? So now we are in a place where we can use Topo Shaper. And so now Topo Shaper is another extension that I believe it is paid for extension now, which, hey, I don't blame them. They should be collecting funds for that. And I think it's available at SketchUcation. So we're going to run through Topo Shaper. There's like a specific workflow. I threw that video in the chat. And also, when this is over, I'll throw together a couple other tutorials, because I know Justin has a good one on this too, and something smoother than what I'm going to do. But like I say, when I'm using Topo Shaper, I don't use this all the time. So I'm just going to run through it the way that I do it. You guys can kind of poke fun in the comments if you like. So I'm going to right click on any toolbar, and we're going to open Topo Shaper, and we'll get rid of that for now. And oh man, I'm glad to see that some other extensions are having this toolbar issue, because I wrestled with that with ConDoc quite a bit. I think we got it solved for our stuff, but where it adds like these extra slots in. But all right, so with Topo Shaper, we're gonna start with this like tri-mesh terrain, like that. Oh God, here we go. And then, I've seen like the gentleman whose tutorial I was watching was, best fitting rectangle. He dialed up the roundness a bit, and we're going to want ISO contours, and we're going to want them at like, I guess a lot of them. So maybe we'll like, every half foot like that. And then you hit play, and then you get something. And then we're going to hit exit tool. All right, that went way better than I expected it to go. I'm going to save. So now we have if I turn on my hidden geometry, that's under view, hidden geometry, you can kind of see what this thing is all about. Like, it connected all those dots. And let me get rid of our topo lines. So you can see how it like kind of triangulated based on the best rectangle. So I suppose that's what we're getting on the outside, like that. All right. And but for right now, the way that I was kind of taught on this, we don't need this stuff right now. We don't need this right now. We really only need these topography lines. All right, so I'm going to cut all that, and I'm going to back out of here. And you know what? I'm just going to make this into a component, and then I'm going to save as. I don't think I'm going to, you know what? We can just get rid of it. I'm going to paste in place. We're just going to move on. Like, I might want to hang on to a version of this model. If we've got all this stuff in there, this is probably a good example of like always off, right? Like what I'm getting at is like, I'm like hesitant to delete these edges because I just spent all that time screwing around drawing them. So like that would be a good candidate for always off, just get it out of my way, but I'm not ready to delete it. All right. So now we've got our contour line. So it's my understanding that you first use generate tri-mesh terrain cloud along with the contour lines, and then you move on to generating a quad mesh, which is what is much easier to work with. You know, again, you go for like a working view like this, and this is one of those tools that I just never really got into all the different. I think this one's a little bit simpler. We'll just hit calculate terrain, and you could mess with your grid, although when I look at this, I'm fairly satisfied with, you know, the grid as it is. I think we're good there. You know, you can mess with like whether you flatten or round the hilltops, I suppose. Everything really looks pretty good to me. And I'll hit generate mesh like that. And so now we've got our terrain. So, you know, right now I really don't need the skirt. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I don't really need these topography lines. So again, I might just throw those on always off like that. And let's see, what did we get here? This guy is untagged like that. There you go. Okay. So now I can save this and we're in pretty good shape. So, so where we're at now is we've got our terrain modeled, like in the, you know, as far as the site like that we're working on is concerned, we have very accurate terrain based on our site survey. But now we need to like marry that with the Placemaker survey, and then perhaps even with the aerial imagery. So let's keep rocking here. All right, so I can go back to, if I just unhide all, and let's get this terrain. I'm going to remove the always off categorization so that when I hit reset, we're always jumping back to this view now where I can see my terrain. All right, so then I guess at this point, you know, you start thinking about like, you know, I would really, I guess I would kind of want my property lines, to be honest. So if I like hide rest of model, when I'm looking at this, I can see that like this is, oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's a property line. We'll call that a property line. That'll be a property line. And I think this is their property line like that. All right, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to back out and I'm going to paste in place. And then I'm going to hit G for group. So Control Shift V is my keyboard shortcut for paste in place. G is for group. And then I'll just move that up. And then I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to kind of complete this because you can see that these edges don't really extend as they should like that. And so I'm just going to like snap to that endpoint, get those guys in there, and yep, we have a surface. So now we're in good shape. Okay, so now I have like kind of an accurate representation of the property line. And just to kind of get an idea, like we should kind of be, you know, that's kind of like what we modeled within, seemingly. All right. So I just want to see that, you know, so like basically the property lines are what we have our accurate aerial or our accurate site within. That would have been kind of nice if that had filled in, but we're not going to worry about that right now. And okay, and then this is our terrain. So I guess what I would do is I'm going to save. And, you know, this is definitely like one of those things where as you're working through this process, it's kind of hard to like, well, it's not hard to undo, but it's hard to like get back a couple steps. So you do kind of want to be meticulous with your saving. I always save to my Zoho work drive, which like holds on to iterations just in case. You might even consider like archiving as you go, but you know, I'm confident we can get this thing done without the need to like completely redo. Those are like famous last words, but we'll see. So I think what I would do at this point is I would like drape this. So then, you know, we're going to bring up our sandbox tools, and I'm going to drape that on this to that. You do this to that. So you select your property line, and now when I look in here, it's draped on there. And if I turn on my hidden geometry, like sometimes it just doesn't like break it up the way it should. You know, I hate when it does that. Like it didn't like divide this surface right there. So you can go back through and you can do it manually. That one, it didn't work out either. The other thing you could do, I'm going to undo that and undo. The other thing you could do is like, you could just like copy this, drill in here, paste in place, explode. And then, you know, actually I won't explode that. I'll just jump in and then pull this down, and then I'll back out of here and intersect, hide rest model, intersect faces with, I'm going to select all and intersect faces with selection. Let's see if we get a better, yeah, see, drape didn't nail it. And so now, you know, like that intersect worked better. So I can just delete that. Or if I'm being real meticulous, I can group it and I can always off. That way, you know, if I'm not sure, I can always bring it back. It still exists in my model, but it'll never show up in any of my drawings. All right, so now what I can do is bring our terrain, kind of like bring it down like this. And, you know, this is where you start to see, you know, how accurate was our Placemaker terrain compared to the terrain that we modeled, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't fit perfect, but it's, you know, like not bad. It's within 2 feet for however they collected that terrain. I guess they didn't quite get they got the general slope right, but they just, you know, it's just not super accurate. To be expected, you know? So I think what I would do is I would kind of like, you know, find like where's like the best position. And I'm being careful to only move this vertically. Like, you know, do I want to kind of rely on the back or the front? Well, I don't know that it really matters. I'm just going to kind of get an average, like probably something like that. That's a little high. So maybe I could like scoot it down just a bit more like that. All right. So what I'm going to do, and I'm kind of curious, like, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody like take it to this step. You know, like I want to offset and I want to eat up, like delete out some of this site. And then I want to like merge these together so that it's not such an abrupt transition. So I guess what I would do is like, you know, I'm just going to offset this. So I'm going to offset this by like, let's go from this direction. You know, if I go say 25 feet like that, so that's probably okay. I'm going to group it, cut it back out of here, hit reset. We're going to drill into here, hide rest a model, paste in place, and I'll just get rid of these pieces like that. All right, so I need to kind of, you know, drape this on there. And, you know, I suppose that you could like make this more of like a wavy line if you wanted to kind of make it a little bit more convincing, but I think that it'll get softened up as we go anyway. So let's try our drape tool, see if that does what we want this time. And I'm just looking to see that, like, you know, it drew those lines and it sealed off those faces. So we're in good shape. I'm going to delete that. And then again, I'm going to group that, always off, just in case I want to bring it back. And all right, so now, you know, and maybe what I should have done was kind of got it off that road. That might have been a better, like, breaking point. Let me undo that. I feel like I did something wrong. That's only 25 feet. Yeah. Let's try that again. Let's make it an even bigger jump. So if I look at it from above, I don't want this anymore. This is our property line. I'm gonna copy this, drill into our site, paste in place, camera parallel projection, and we're going to offset, and I want to get out past that road. So let's call it like 50 feet, but I don't want to get so far that, like, I'm going off my site. So let's say 50 feet. That's fine, you know. I just don't want to have like a weird transition on that road, just in case I need that in a rendering or something. All right, I can delete that. I can take this, make it a group. I'll hit reset, hide rest of model, save it, drape it onto there. And now this guy, I'm going to group it. That's going to be always off. Delete that. All right, so now you can see that, like, I'm going to be able to, you know, kind of merge these pieces, and that should look all right. And keep in mind that, like, you know, this isn't going to be, this area of the site is not going to be accurate, but, you know, keep in mind what it is. It's like, it was the Placemaker imagery or topography, and it wasn't necessarily like super accurate to begin with. And now we're just going to kind of mesh the two together so that our property is modeled, you know, with the highest level of precision, exactly as shown in the survey. And then we're going to marry it with this site that's close enough for context. And so, yeah, that should be all good. We're not going to like dimension anything or plot any points. We just want it to look right. So, all right. So now for this, I would use the soap bubble plugin. I always call it the soap skin bubble, like that. All right, so now with this guy, the other thing you want to use with this plugin is going to be SketchUV. SketchUV and Soap Bubble are free, although it seems like Soap Bubble is hard to track down these days. I forget if somebody like reposted that. I'm surprised somebody hasn't like polished this plugin and offered it as a paid workflow, you know. Okay, so now we can hide this. This guy we're gonna hide, and now we need to get in here and start selecting some things. All right, so the way that I've done this in the past, I might like grab this and yeah. Yeah, so Justin's saying that the Frito collection, yeah, one-time deal, get everything Frito makes, and then I'm with you on that. I paid for these extensions. I think recently they switched it over, or at least the last time I had to use them, I paid the $40 or something, just bought everything. Well worth it and worth supporting Frito. He's giving his stuff away for free forever. And then, yeah, if the soap skin is in the extension warehouse, but that one expires and you just gotta reinstall it randomly. But yeah, it's free, so that's cool. So what I'm doing here is just grabbing, I double click on this surface, remove the surface, and then copy, and then back out of here. And I'm going to leave this intact because this is like my highly accurately modeled area. This guy, I'm going to hide rest of model, and I'm going to paste in place. So now I have like the Placemaker terrain along with this outline of my accurate modeling. And then I'm just going to, like, I don't know of a better way to do this than to like kind of just draw, you know, maybe like from here to here and kind of break those up. Like there might be a better way to do that. But now what I can do is use my Sketch UV, and it has this path select tool. And then I can like, you know, click to kind of like add these pieces to the selection, or to like kind of save the part that I got to like that. And then like you just got to kind of like encourage it to turn the corner like that. And then you can hit enter. Yeah. And then we'll go back to our select tool. All right, so that's how you make that selection really quickly with that Sketch UV. Before I run any extension, you want to save. So I'll save this, and then I'm going to hit the generate soap skin. And then you can see in the bottom right corner of my screen, it's asking me how many divisions. It's on 10. I mean, I might as well go like 25. You know, it's maybe even 50. I mean, it's 25 is probably fine, and I'll hit enter like that. All right, so now it like kind of, you know, smoothly patches in all that stuff like that. So that looks pretty good. If anyone, Justin or anyone, if you guys have a better way of doing this, I'm kind of curious, but this is how I've always done it. So now I'm going to, the other thing you can do here is like, you know, you could do then the generate soap bubble, and you could try and get like, you know, if I do like 5 for the pressure or -5, enter like that, you know, you can get these kind of like berms. All right, I'm glad to hear that, man. So maybe -1, you know, you could kind of like -2. See how you're getting like a little bit of a berm happening. So maybe like a -1 is decent, but probably not necessary. I think that just patching it alone is good enough like that. Okay, so now let's do the other one. I'm going to use the Sketch UV path select. Do that same type of thing on this one. That, just kind of encouraging around there, hit enter, go back to my select tool, save it, and generate a soap skin. And we'll do the same, 25. You can see in the bottom right corner of my screen, it's asking how many divisions, like that. And okay, something didn't, no, there we go. I hit enter again, it drops it all, and now we're in good shape. Like that. So now I'm going to select both of those. So these two pieces, I'm going to group them and jump into there. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to explode it like that. And then I'm going to soften the edges. Let's see, I can right click and choose soften edges, and then we're going to soften coplanar as well, like that. And okay, so there's an like, oh, these edges kind of lingered. So if I hide this, I can then erase those, erase that, and then unhide that. Hit reset, get rid of those things that are tagged. All right, so we're getting somewhere now. Okay, so now you can see we've got, just to recap, we've got our Placemaker aerial imagery and terrain. We've got then our high-res terrain that was modeled off of the survey, And then we've got this kind of intermediate zone where where we patched it all together. Let's see what's going on with this. This might be a little bit of a problem area. Yeah, I mean, it's a little goofy. It's a little goofy, but like, honestly, that's kind of what it was doing. I mean, you know, the backyard, it had some terrain going. So we're going to leave it alone. I don't see any reason to redo this. And if I was cutting a section through this, I would probably end it at that point anyway. Like, I wouldn't want to show a section of terrain that's not accurate, really. So I think I'm okay with it. We could always, if we were worried about it in a rendering, we could pad it with a bunch of shrubs, right? Nice. John Brock, yeah. Same tool comes with Profile Builder. And Profile Builder is great too. And okay, yeah, you think that one works better? And yeah. Nice. Yeah, so Dale threw it in Profile Builder as well. Maybe that one works a little better, but pretty slick. All right, so I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. With my eraser tool, I tap Control, and I can soften those edges. And, you know, that looks pretty decent. All right, so now this is where it does get a little bit tricky again. Let me check this back here. This area. Yeah, I don't love that. Let's unhide. And I think there's a tool that does this, but I'm just going to like erase that edge right there. And erase that one. And I'm going to like patch this manually just so we can move on like that. And yeah, it got a little bit messy there. And oh man, kind of all around the back. I mean, no, that looks all right. It's just not softened. Let me undo that. Yeah, I deleted that one edge there. So we'll soften those, and I really wouldn't worry too much about this. Let me soften these again. Like, we'll just really go heavier on the softening there. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so now what I need to do is get my aerial imagery onto this terrain. So we should have at one point, I remember using Placemaker, and I want to say that it like had some kind of a prompt like, oh, hey, you've already got this aerial imagery saved. And so we don't have to charge you for it again. Let me check if that's the case still, but if not, I'm pretty sure that we can kind of do this manually. So first things first, let's get rid of Sketch UV, Soapskin Bubble, Topo Shaper, and Sandbox. Thank God we made it through that. Let's go to our Placemaker toolbar, and let's see what happens when I open Placemaker, go to our near map and import the imagery. And what I'm looking for is like, hey, yeah, perfect. Previously imported tiles found in cache. Would you like to re-import? Yes. And done. Okay, but it didn't really come on there. All right. Let me see what happens. I wonder if I need to do it like this. See, now it wants to, oh wait, no, that was near map. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna cut this out of here and drill in here, paste in place, and save it, and I'm gonna explode it. All right, so let's see if we can import our imagery here. Yes. Okay, that's not working. All right, so let me see if I can undo this. All right, and we're gonna kind of go back. I might be doing something wrong, but I do remember on this project, I kind of had to go down this path where track down where they stitched it, drape those edges, and then manually paint the aerial imagery. So no big deal. let's see if we can get it done. I'm going to go to my tags, and we're going to go to our Placemaker imagery. And when I look at my Placemaker imagery, you can see the tiles, right? So I'm just going to like grab all this stuff. I'm going to make a copy of it. I'll hit reset, and Placemaker imagery is, we're just going to make that always off like that. And then, and let's see, let me finish this thought, then I'm going to read that comment there. We're going to jump in here, and I'm going to paste in place. I'm going to group it, and then we're going to move it up like that. All right, so, and I'm going to unhide or unsoften these edges like that, you know, so that I can see where these guys tile. And these textures should, I think they need to be projected. This is where it's going to get interesting here. Projected. Okay. All right, so we got a comment here from Keenan. If there's color on the surface, that could be jamming it up. So let me see. This guy here, when I look at it, it is the, here's a question. It's definitely on the, it has a default material, but it's the back side. So if I reverse that, you know, you can always right click and like reverse. I wonder, it's possible that when I did that, maybe it worked, but it was painting the other side of it. So let's import. It wants to charge me again. All right, so I'm gonna back out of there. I'm gonna cut this, drill in, paste in place. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna explode it. I'm gonna grab all that stuff, and we're gonna import imagery, and we're gonna pull it from the cache. And hey, that worked. Okay, so that was it. It was actually working, but it was painting the front of the surface. So that was my mistake. When I reverse it, now we're seeing the proper side of it. So what happened is it did come in. It was just on the bottom. So, all right. So that's cool. Now back to Keenan's comment. I wonder how I can get this to work out. If I like copy this and like, we're not going to mess with, this is going to be always off. This, we're going to leave that in place for a moment. I'm going to paste in place. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to import imagery. Oh, and sorry, I'm going to cancel that. This needs to be on the default material like that. And let's see if we can import the imagery there. I don't know. Maybe there's a way. See, it wants to. Let me cancel that. It's like it wants import imagery. Yes. And oh man, what did we make? I feel like there should be an easier way to do this, but I could just be goofing this up. I think this keeps on like re-importing that imagery. All right, so now I'm going to hide that for a moment. So, okay. So that worked. You know, we've got that. And now what we could do is we could come back out here and we could, oh man, this is like how this workflow goes. You end up with like this massive stack of stuff. So now what I want to do is like that we don't need. And then in here, we don't need this because we were able to, you know, get what we need, and we already have that saved somewhere else. And now I think I would just move I feel like I goofed something up, or I feel like something else came in, like the terrain somehow got mixed around. Like if I look at, you know, where that's patching in there. Let's see. So in here, I think that I've just got something in here that we don't need. That's on always off, probably for a reason. I'm going to move it 100 feet down. This is the site that I want. And what I need now is like my property line. So I want to like take this guy and I want to drape it. So let's go back to sandbox and drape on here. This is getting messy. I'm going to copy this and then we're going to clean it all up, and I'm going to pull this down, and then I'm going to select all, intersect faces with selection, delete that, and there's just a few. I think I can like, you know, why did that not, I hate how it does that. So now I can like, and I'm not super, it's alt toggles unsmooth. And so, okay, I think that's different. It used to be control shift, I thought. Alt. And so now I'm just like unsmoothing these lines. And I suppose I'm just going to draw that in and then see if that gets me where I want to be. And for this job, I'm sure there is a plugin like Edge Inspector. I don't use that one a ton either. But there's like something goofing up in this little zone right here. So, yeah, and I'll take a moment here. And yeah, asking about, you know, working on this for permit. Yeah, definitely. But I got to say that, like, you know, we are going to submit this for permit, but much, much easier than Denver. So, we needed a survey because we have to just call out this one height. I forget what it was, like 20 feet off the front setback, or 20 feet off the front property line. But, yeah, so, it will be submitted for permit, but I got to tell you that, like, way less stringent than any of the permitting guidelines in Denver. And especially when it comes to like all the site modeling and bulk plane and, you know, height restrictions and all that, it wasn't anything near what you deal with in Denver. So, so what I'm trying to do here is get this chunk back out. And, you know, it's like, I know that it's just something over in here. Like, this would be another way to go about it. Yeah, fair enough. Let's go to view. We can go to face style and choose hidden line like that. Yeah, I just wish that that property line, when I'm in here, I got to get back to where I was. So this, I'm just going to move 100 feet down. this, when I'm inside of here, I can explode this, explode it. I can paste in place. I can extrude that down again, intersect faces with selection like that. And then maybe I'll just delete this, delete that. Let's see if, man, why wouldn't it do that? You know, that would be like if I were to make a complaint about SketchUp, if I'm draping it, I wish it would just do it. You know, that's the whole point of the drape tool. All right. Look at that. I've noticed some of that stuff happening too. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Turn these off. All right. I'm just going to go around and like manually select all these. All right. So we're going to hold control, and I'm just going to kind of, yeah, you're right. Face style, hidden line, and then work through it like this. And I can kind of zoom in. Like, I know for sure this is going to be the problem area. Like in this zone over here. And so I'm just going to zoom in close and make sure that I'm getting all those pieces. Like that. Like that. I think it happens when you're like, when you're draping like really close to the other, to lines that already exist, maybe. Because it kind of feels like that's what's going on there, but I mean, we're really splitting hairs at this point. Yeah, I can kind of feel like you can barely see it, that there's like an edge that lives right there. All right, so we're not gonna get hung up on that because it is like literally probably like 1,000th of an inch that we're agonizing over here. And I think what I can do is just make this selection, and this will get, I'll go to top view, and then I'll hold control. This is like where, I forget what that plugin is that like saves your selection. This is dangerous. If I lose my selection, then I'm going to have to like redo all this. Justin, what's what's my plugin? Close endpoints. That would be a good one. I do have one called like extend close edges. I've had that for like 20 years. I guess there's one that like if I like goof up my selection that I'm making right now, it'll like let me get it back. You can like copy too. That can, sometimes you can like paste it back in place on top. All right. Like that. That. Like that. There we go. All right. We did it. make that into a group. Selection memory. Yep, that's what it is. Okay. A little clunky. A little clunky. This went so far so good. Like, I think the kind of missteps I've hit were good because it shows actually how this would go. So we're kind of close here. So I think what I'm going to do for the final, we're almost at 2 hours. That's about a reasonable amount of time to do this. So let's just kind of, like, after all that, and we got this into a group, let's get this sorted out and make sure that our file's really clean with only what we need. All right. So I'm going to unhide all, and I'm going to save, and I'm going to turn always off on. All right. So now I'm seeing everything that would be in my model. All right. Because all of my tags are turned on, and I hit unhide all. So what I want to do now is just kind of piece through this thing and like whittle it down to only what I need. And so I'm also going to go over into our projects folder here. And this is for, our content for BD Live episode 2. I'm going to make an archive folder like this, and I'm going to archive the existing conditions by compressing it to a zip file and then naming it 240905. So 240905. And that way there's like a snapshot of this file as it was, when I finished this kind of hairy process, So now I'm going to chip this away. If I needed, if something, were to go astray where I need one of these pieces back, I could go back to my archive. So we don't need Placemaker. We don't need Sandbox. We're in good shape. And so now the only thing I really want to keep, I don't want my Placemaker imagery. I just don't need it. It's already applied. I don't need that Placemaker imagery. Oh, it came in several times. That might have been causing some confusion for me. I don't need these lines. I don't need these topo lines. I don't need this stuff here. And I also don't need, I guess those could be separate. That's okay. I'm going to cut this, and I don't need this anymore. This is on the always off. That was kind of like before I kind of married the two. I don't need that. I'm going to cut that and then paste in place. And I could select all those edges and hide them, or I could, assign always off to the edges. That way those will always be kind of, where's my always off? Right there. And I could hide them too, just, and then drill in here and get rid of this selection. So we're going to hide these and put them on always off. So we'll say always off like that, hide. So we get a nice clean transition between the two. But now, see, I have the ability to kind of isolate the high-res terrain versus low-res terrain. The survey I'm going to leave in there. And then if I look at this from above, parallel projection, control 1, and then, was it F8? No, F7? Yeah, F7 is my X-ray mode. Okay, so now I'm looking at my property line that I've got in there. I've got my survey, and then I've got my site. So, and when I unhide the house, I just to kind of get this kind of closer, we'll scoot this up just a little bit, like, something like that. That's fine. Just for now. That way, we are pretty darn close, when it comes to having this all pulled together. Now, I think that these pieces that are floating up above, we are going to call those, for the time being, always off. And let me bring our house back, and I don't want this to be on the always off tag. All right, so this way, whenever I hit reset, we're getting back to this place right here where I have my existing conditions model, I have my terrain, and man, that actually went pretty well, I gotta say. Nice. All right, you guys, episode number 2 is knocked out. I think that went really well. I swear I didn't practice. I just I pushed a few buttons on Topo Shaper just to kind of recall the order of going through these things, but that was pretty slick. So I'm going to save this project as it is, and let's do it again next Thursday. Thanks so much for being in here, everyone, and make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, fellas.